Hello, parents and guardians of my geometry students. This is Mr. Longo, and the purpose of this video is to communicate with you the style of classroom that I will be running at some point in time during the school year. And it's called student-paced. The reason it's called student-paced is because students are actually going to control their learning by making some decisions for themselves that are going to work best, such as whether or not they want to work in a group or if they want to work individually. They're going to get to decide where and when they want to take their notes, because all notes are provided by YouTube video created by me, just like this, and where they want to do their practice problems. They're going to even decide what day they want to take quizzes and tests. Now, because quizzes have a group component, if they would like to work in a group, they will have to agree which day they want to take their quizzes and tests, but they together still get to decide. This also creates more opportunity for me to add fun projects or activity days. I've been doing this for quite a few years, and the reason I have continued to do so is because of the overwhelming positive feedback I receive from students and parents every year. I keep tweaking it and improving it based on student feedback. So this has been quite a few years in the process, but that's what we're going to be doing. Now, when I say at some point, is I don't jump straight into this style. I give a break-in period. So it might take a couple of units, 2-3 units, before students have good note-taking skills, good group work skills, before they're ready to start making the decisions of when they want to take quizzes and tests. So I will build them up for this, and once I feel comfortable letting them go and work at their own pace, that's when I will do so. And I will also help them make decisions as well. If they select to work in a group, but all they're doing is spending time socializing, I will step in and intervene with that group and separate them or make things individual or call home to discuss a better plan. So in an environment like this, it provides me with so many opportunities to teach them more than just math. They're going to learn more than geometry. They're going to learn a whole bunch of executive functions that are going to be very important for them in and outside of school, such as to take responsibility for their learning, to take responsibility for their success, and teach them that hard work pays off, and also how slacking off will lead to potential failures, and they're going to have to take responsibility for that. They're going to learn time management skills and how to be proactive instead of procrastinate and wait till the last minute to get something done. They're going to learn how to assess themselves and go through error analysis to try to figure out where they're going wrong and if they're ready to take a quiz or a test. They're going to learn how to work collaboratively with other students. And that is a very important piece because much of what is done outside of the classroom is done together. You almost always have resources such as peers, friends, parents to work on things. So that's why I try to incorporate a collaborative piece to this class as well. And also to work through distractions. When this class starts working at a pace of its own and students are picking and choosing, a group of students might decide to take a quiz on a day that other students have decided to do group work and they're communicating. So on quiz or test days, it does not necessarily mean that the room is going to be 100% quiet. Now, students have reported multiple times that that is one of the more helpful things that they learned in this style, because they've said that back in the day when they were taking quizzes and tests, the room had to be quiet and they were easily distracted by something that happened in the hallway, a cell phone that rang, a student that sneezed. Other things will just like get them off track, but once they're in a class like this, they have to learn to focus, and those little distractions go away. And students have reported multiple times that it has just helped them to stay focused on what they're doing and not worry about what's going on in the background. Feedback from surveys. So at the end of every semester that I've been doing this, I give students surveys, and I will change courses from time to time based on these surveys, because the students have helped me reorganize this class or come up with different lifelines. And a majority of students have reported that they prefer this style of classroom to the traditional or the flipped classroom. Traditional is what's been going on for years and years and years. Flipped classroom is another style where the lectures are still delivered by video, but you still follow a very rigid and structured schedule. Students have reported that they feel more successful because of the flexibility in the scheduling and the collaboration with other students. They also, for similar reasons, feel less stressful in this class because they get to pick a schedule that works for them. So, example, I've had students that have jobs after school that don't get home till 10 o'clock at night, or students that play sports and don't get home from an away game until 10:30. Or they have other honors classes or other classes with more than one test on a certain day. Once they're allowed to start picking and choosing these days, they can take an extra day so they don't have to take a test the day after they work or have a game till 10 o'clock at night. So that is where they say it's less stressful because they can modify their time as they need. The only catch is they must finish the semester before the end of the semester. So every unit that they need to cover, they must finish on time. So we'll talk a little bit more about tips in a minute for that. Students have reported that they feel more prepared for college because when they go away to college, they're going to have a lot more freedom than they do in high school. And learning how to deal with that freedom and how to be responsible, they feel more prepared. And they also learn how to communicate more effectively in groups with students. Since the quizzes have value, it's not like they're just working together and one person has to do the work. There are individual components, so students will get their own grade and they will also get a group grade. So learning how to effectively communicate has been something that they've reported. Now, of course, there are a whole bunch of others, but that's some of the more popular things that students have said. Now, in terms of tips for success, these tips come from students. But one of them they say is to find a group that encourages you to work and not a group that you are just going to socialize with all period. If no work is getting done, I'm going to step in and intervene anyway, but to just choose a group that you're going to work with is going to eliminate that problem anyway. To do all of your practice problems, students are going to receive a packet at the beginning of each unit that has a whole bunch of practice problems, and they're going to be encouraged to do that for more than one reason. One reason is because of a grade, and there's another reason for lifelines, but also just so you're prepared to take quizzes and tests. Students will say, do not fall behind. I will provide them with a schedule that they could follow day to day if they want to. They are allowed to modify it. So they're going to be given some sort of a guide, but they're encouraged not to fall behind, because if they do, then at the end of the semester, they're going to feel very rushed to get caught up. Students will say to take your notes outside of class so you can spend time in class asking questions or working on practice problems with their group. The notes are self-guided, just like you guys are watching this YouTube video. Students will get to do that, so they're not going to need to do these notes in class. They can do them in study hall or at home. And another one which students have taken advantage of many, many times is to get a few days ahead of schedule. Because if you do, you open yourself up for many more benefits, such as they can take an extra day to study for a test if they need it. They can work on other classes if they're ahead of schedule. I want my students to be successful in all of their classes. So if they're a couple of days ahead of schedule in geometry and they have a test the period after mine, they can feel free to work and study for that test if they're ahead of schedule. If they're behind schedule, they cannot, because they need to make sure they're also up to date with me. And students sometimes will also just take a break. They need a break, they're ahead of schedule, and they just want to relax for a day. That is absolutely fine if they are ahead of schedule. Now, in geometry, they will receive a few other lifelines for support and to improve their grade. And both of those are very dependent on that homework packet that I mentioned. It's called the goal packet, and it's a list of goals that are covered during that particular unit. And they receive these problems to practice so they're prepared to handle quizzes and tests. So if a student receives a 10 out of 10, that means they did every single problem, showing work and checking their answers with the answer key. And if they turn it in the day before they take their test, or the day of their test once they are allowed to choose which day they're taking tests, they receive a 10 out of 10. They qualify for a quiz replacement. That means if a student gets a 60% on the first quiz of the semester in Unit 1 because they're not used to being back at school, and then they get an 80 on the second quiz, and then they get an 85% on their first test of the semester, because they improved on the test, it shows me that just because they didn't understand something for the first quiz, they took the time to go back and learn it. It encourages students to not just say, oh man, I got a D on this quiz, whatever, and move on. If they take the time to learn it and they do their packet, I will replace that 60 and 80 on the quizzes with an 85, because that shows their most recent ability to perform the type of problems in that unit. So their grade will go up because of that. Also, students will have opportunity to retake tests during the semester. Not every single test, but some tests, if they receive a 10 out of 10 and they don't do as well as they would like, they will have a limited window to retake that test. And again, both of those lifelines are only given if students do their packet, because they have to show me that they tried and are not just waiting till the last minute. Now, this last section are just the most popular comments from students. I've had hundreds of students take my class, and obviously it probably won't surprise anyone that there are going to be multiple students that say that at the beginning of this class they didn't like it because it was so different. They're used to teachers telling them what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And students a lot of times just don't like change. But once you get past that and you learn how to take advantage of the flexibility of being able to pick and choose your days, and once you get used to it, like anything else, they love it. So that is a very popular comment. And of course, many of these comments are going to talk about the flexibility or how they wish they didn't procrastinate, which of course, when you have hundreds of students, many of the comments are going to be the same. I just picked some of them that students have, talked about. So if you have any questions about this, please do not hesitate to contact me. I look forward to meeting you at open house. Until then, I just want to let you know that I am very excited to be working with all the students this year. I'm excited for a great year. And that's that. This is Longo, and I'm out. See you, bye.